Away from transportation, let's turn to other stories. The National Union of Nigerian Students has asked the federal government to reassess the suspension placed on the accreditation and evaluation of degree certificates from Benin Republic and Togo. The federal government on Tuesday suspended certificates from the two West African countries, following a report detailing how a degree was acquired from a university in Benin Republic in 2 months. In a statement by President of the Senate for NANS, Akinteye Afeez, the students' body says the government's commitment to upholding the integrity of academic qualification is commendable, but wants the government to carefully consider the impact of the decision on legitimate students who have pursued their education in these countries. And joining me on the news to discuss this recent issue of fake certificates and its effects is the Director of Press and Public Relations, NYSC, Eddie Megwa. Good to have you join us.
Thank you very much.
Let me say that he joins us from Abuja studio. But let me start by asking you, have you gone through this report? And then if you have, what is your reaction to the lapses identified by the reporter about this scheme?
Oh, yeah. We have carefully gone through the report, and we commend the young man for bringing to the open so many things the National Youth Service Corps has been calling for attention over the years. It's rather worrisome that you will have graduates from higher institutions that cannot express themselves. It's worrisome. Way back 2006, the NYSC raised this alarm when we noticed, even from our own local graduates, that some of them cannot even express themselves. And when we mobilize them from national service and post them to various places of primary assignment, they cannot cope. They cannot even teach the children in primary or secondary schools. And investigation had to be carried out. And we discovered that some student affairs officers in Nigeria, we go and collect money from bread and groundnut sellers and put their names in Senate-approved list for NYSC to mobilize. And when we noticed it, we raised alarm. And the findings were very startling. And since that time, most of the institutions that were concerned had to sanitize their process and punished the officers involved in the process. And that's why we started getting it right in Nigerian core-producing institutions. But the worrisome part is this one from Ghana, Cameroon, Niger, Cotonou, and Benin. If the producer can flash some of the things they are writing, you will begin to wonder if these people are actually graduates of higher institutions. It's rather embarrassing. In fact, on the 22nd of November 2023, the Director General convened a meeting of some core-producing institutions in Africa. And we addressed them so that we can sanitize the mobilization process. Most of them, we started this verification exercise in 2019. And we had over 24,000 of them registered to come into the National Youth Service Corps. And when we wanted to do the physical verification, and we told them that if you are caught knowing that you did not go to the university, you are going to be arrested and prosecuted. Over 20,000 of them took to their heels.
And Mr. Megwa, if I may come in here.
Yes.
You have talked about how it is a mobilization process, but the reporter Audu Maru also, while he did acknowledge that there were some rigorous checks from the scheme, which is the NYSC, he also questioned the database, which means that it is not just about the mobilization. There is also a problem with the verification process. Do you have a foolproof database?
Oh, yeah. We have foolproof database. And let me tell you what happened. If you have also read the young man's report, When he went and arranged his certificate from this university that he got within a few months and came to NYSC to register, when he imputed in his email address and phone number, our system flagged it because he had served before. He served in Osun State. The system said, no, we cannot accept. And that was why, because he was out for a specific, investigation, he had to go and use a different email and phone number before he can now have access. Now, in our act, if you go to NYSC Act Section 13, subsection 2B, it's a punishable act for you to try to serve in the youth service when you are not expected or supposed to serve. And the punishment is 2 years imprisonment or 4,000 naira or both. But we are not even looking at that. What we are interested in is to see how the process can be sanitized. This is not the position where we need to start casting aspersion. All we need to do is to put hands together and see how we can stop this high flow of unqualified graduates coming into Nigeria to claim that they want to serve in the national service.
But one would have thought that, when he entered, the second email, I'm sure he used the same name, that the system should be able to flag it. But I also want to ask, you talked about how this is a crime to try to do that. Is that an indication that the scheme is going to take actions against this reporter? Just a minute, if you can answer those questions for us before we move on.
Yeah. Like I said, we are not talking about getting into punishing the young man because his revelation is calling for national attention. We are more interested in the content of his discovery rather than the offense committed in this instance. And that's why the federal government is taking the action they are taking. And we salute the action taken by federal government. We are not talking about prosecuting him yet. We're only interested in the procedure. Don't forget that ICT integrated system in any institution or anywhere in the country, or even outside the country, it's not cast on stone. It's evolving. We keep improving on it every day.
Mr. Begwa, again, my apologies for jumping in, because I want to stay on the point that you just raised about the ICT system. This is not just an indictment on the NYC, it is an indictment on the education sector as a whole in the country. What lessons are there for the scheme to stop these corrupt officials from infiltrating NYC?
Yeah, that's the first move is what the federal government is doing. And we have been shouting on this for so many years. We have written letter to the NUC, we've written letter to Federal Ministry of Education complaining on this issue. And that was why NYSC had to start subjecting graduates from these institutions to mini tests. And I have sent some to your producer. If you can flash them, let Nigerians see what graduates are writing. And these are people we are sending to go and teach. That's embarrassing. And NYSC, we have also noticed what is going on. Inwardly, we are also checking our own system to ensure that such issue will not happen again.
Thank you so much. We're following this story and we will see how it plays out. We've been speaking with the Director of Press and Public Relations, NYSC, Eddie Megwa. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's now bring in the reporter who actually investigated this scheme. He's a reporter with Daily Nigerian investigative reporter, Umaru Audu. He joins us virtually. Good to have you join us.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Good evening. I want you to respond to some of the things that the Director of Press and Public Relations with the NYC said. He mostly talked about how this is more of a mobilization issue and not a verification issue. I want you to react to that.
Well, excuse me. Like I said in my report, I actually acknowledged how tedious the process was for me at the during the verification exercise. And I must commend NYC because it wasn't easy. It was not easy for me just as it was to get the certificate. But the only place I faulted the NYC was the issue of the biometric. So, and other than that, every other thing he said is actually correct. And he told me when I visited his office, he gave me he told me these stories.
All right, so I want to ask you, you used an email and a phone number initially that were flagged, and then insisting
Yes.
that you had registered before. But when you used a
Yes,
different
please.
phone number, a different name, was it an email address rather? Was it with the same name?
Yes, the same name that was in on my previous certificate. So, but the email address is entirely different, but it was the same name and the same fingerprint.
So talk to us more about, I know you've said some of these things in your report, but talk to us more about some of the loopholes you found and at what point, these loopholes existed.
So the loopholes largely is in the Ministry of Education, and I'm also commend the Ministry of Education for taking this bold step to sanitize the system. But to be honest with you, this thing is very rampant. When I went to the camp before I was cleared, I saw a lot of graduates from Benin and Togo. We are having issues to get mobilized. It wasn't like every other person who graduated legitimately. It was very easy because all your documents, ordinarily when you pass through the system as you're supposed to, you have all your document, all your valid document ready, and they just screen you and go. But people from Benin and Togo, it was problematic for them. And that's to tell you how rigid the NYC process is. But I think the major flaws is in the Ministry of Education, and until this minister who has shown zeal and commitment to clean up the system, uh, until he's able to do that, the problem will persist.
And what do you hope to happen going forward? Because we've seen that committees have now been set up. But what are your expectations?
Yeah, my expectation is that this committee that has been set up bring in their reports quickly so that Nigerians will see the truth. You understand? So that's just my expectation. But so far, I'm happy with the reaction of the government. In fact, today I received a commendation letter from the National Orientation Agency for the job I did. So these are kind of things we expect, not the usual way of issuing threat or intimidating journalists for doing their job. And I heard Mr. Megwa talk about criminal offense. So what they are supposed to look at is my intention. You get, it's not the offense, because I didn't do this with the intention of committing a crime. I discovered that the process is faulty, so I wanted to draw the attention of the government. And this thing, thank God, they are also aware. Mind you, I only purchased this degree, and without going further, without digging deeper to unravel this rot, a lot of Nigerians will have doubted the credibility of my report. But now that I brought everything to the public, they saw it and Nigerians believe that yes, these things are actually happening. And again, the money that was paid into my account, I refunded it. You get, and today my state coordinator from Cross River State also reached out to me that all the kits that were given to me at the camp should be returned, and I've done that. So he just sent me a WhatsApp message this evening acknowledging receipt of those items. So that my intention was just to make sure that to just draw the attention of the government, which I'm happy the government have seen the impact and has responded accordingly.
And just in 30 seconds before we let you go, Audu, the school has now responded saying that they are denying your claims and that you never contacted anyone in school and they had nothing to do with this. How do you respond?
Of course, they want to continue. You don't expect them not to respond that way because it's a business and they want to keep profiting from this rotten system. So I don't want to take their response serious. I have evidence of the email I sent to them. So I don't, because they were only trying to be clever by half. That statement, I'm not taking it serious, honestly. Because who sent my name to the Ministry of Education? Have you asked them that question? So I don't have any serious response for them, to be honest.
Thank you so much, Audu, for this particular report that has now generated reaction, not just from Nigerians, but from relevant authorities. We've been speaking with the reporter on, who broke the or published the report on the I think it's the certificate racketeering from Benin Republic and Togo. Audu Umaru, he is a reporter with Daily Nigerian Investigative Reporter. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.